So it's kind of like the thing where she wants more from you than you're willing to give her. She doesn't really telegraph it a lot, but you just kind of try to read the signs. You take her to where she wants to be led, always leaving her wanting more. She's getting more attracted to you, moving more into her feminine energy. You are in the masculine energy. Now there's that sexual tension between you. And I'm telling you, this is one of the dynamics that's super necessary for relationships to work.
Welcome to the Unapologetic Man Podcast, the only podcast that's all about self-improvement, confidence, success, women, and being a man without making any apologies for it.
What is up, gentlemen? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the UMP. I really do appreciate you. And today, guys, we're going to talk about the one and only situation where you should chase a woman. If you've been listening to my podcast for any amount of time, you know I tell you time and time again, do not chase women. Don't do it. It's going to get you blown out so hard when the concussion hits. It's going to blow the mustache off your best friend's face because women do not want to be chased. They want you to lead the interaction, which means the person who wants less is always the one who's in the leadership role, and the masculine role is always the leadership role. So you have to, by way of principle, want less than she does. But there is one situation where you actually have to chase the woman because that's the only opportunity that she's giving you. And I'm going to explain this situation very clearly. So stay tuned because this is going to be a hard-hitting episode, and it is in reaction to an episode I recorded several weeks ago where I was talking about why you shouldn't chase women, and I promised you guys that there was one situation where you should do so. I'm always a man of my word. I always do what I say I'm going to do, and I told you guys I would record this, so here we go. First of all, gentlemen, I want to thank you for all the awesome, spectacular, amazing reviews. I read every single one, and guys, I genuinely appreciate it. Lately, there's just been a lot of awesome ones dropped, especially on the American iTunes, but I also see the Canadian iTunes, the Australian iTunes. I get tons of reviews from places like Norway, Finland, Germany. I even had a guy apply today from the Czech Republic. So gentlemen, I cannot tell you enough just how much I appreciate you. And I have to be honest with you, bro. If you've left me a review, you're a class act, both on and off the golf course. In fact, on the soccer pitch, you've hit mid-season form, and I expect that the goalie's net will ripple once more. Beers will be named after you that Vikings will drink before they go into battle. Songs will be written about you that will be sung around campfires for generations to come. You, sir, are the ruby in my crown. You've made your ancestors proud. And when I'm slain in battle, I am going to give you my coaching business because that's what a goddamn champion you are. Genuinely, brothers, I appreciate all the reviews. Even if you just leave a comment on YouTube or even like it, that goes a long way because you may not know this, but only 1% of people who watch YouTube videos actually subscribe. If you get any value out of my content whatsoever, one of the best things you can do is subscribe to me on YouTube. Even if you're listening on one of the podcast apps, go to YouTube right now, if of course you want to help me, and subscribe to my channel. It's called the Unapologetic Man Podcast with Mark Singh. I feel like I've kind of been sandboxed a little bit by YouTube because I talk about these controversial topics of getting women attracted to you, how masculinity is under attack in today's age, and how you need to be that next level dude to be successful both in today's society, but also with women. Gets a lot of people butthurt. And there's actually a movement against guys like me where we get sandboxed in different avenues, and YouTube is one of them. So the way to help me out of that is to subscribe. It's moving slower than pond water, but your subscription, your comments, your likes really go a long way. So please, gentlemen, I want to get up to about 6% of people subscribing. Right now, I'm at about 1%, just because people don't really feel the need to do it. But listen, if I've helped you out, the best that you can do for me is reciprocate my kindness, giving you all this free content by doing things like subscribing and writing reviews. You can even email me at coachmarksing@gmail.com. I will send you the Conversation Sniper, Guide to the Female Orgasm, and 3 texts to build massive attraction in women as a thank you. And again, I'm going to give you my coaching business when I'm slain in battle. So I feel like that's a pretty good deal. If you could do that right now, I'd appreciate it. Let's get into the content. So first of all, boys, I get a lot of guys who tell me, man, I really wish girls would approach me. I wish they would just chase me and come up to me in nightclubs and say, hey, I'm attracted to you. I really want that, Mark Singh. I really want that. And I'm going to be honest with you, it feels pretty good when it happens. But here's the problem. What does it say about her energy? It says that she's in the masculine role. A woman who approaches you is highly masculine. And not to hate on masculine women, but those are usually the ones that are a nightmare to date because they're trying to get the masculine role. They're constantly pushing your boundaries. They're constantly frame checking you. And usually it takes a lot of effort to put those girls into their femininity. Today's world, as I mentioned earlier, is attacking masculinity. We have a lot of narratives going on that say men should be more feminine, women should be more masculine, and I completely disagree with that. It's okay for a woman to be feminine. It's okay for a man to be masculine. In fact, when a woman is willing to go into her feminine energy, and when you, brother, are willing to go into your masculine energy, that's where sexual polarity comes from. It's like a rubber band on two opposite sides of a football field pulling, and that's where you get good sex. If you have a dude who's really feminine and a woman who's really masculine, they're really close together on the polarity spectrum, and there's no tension there. The sex usually isn't really good. Then you have some guys who go into the feminine and the girl's so masculine, they actually flip roles. And this oftentimes makes women lose attraction for their man. This is the reason many women will divorce their man, cheat on him, and leave him because he's too fucking feminine and she's too masculine. So anytime a woman approaches me and says, hey, what's your name? Hey, I wanted to meet you. Are you single? I immediately take the frame. I immediately take that masculine role. For example, she comes up to me and she's like, hey, I wanted to meet you. What's your name? I'll immediately take the masculine role and say, the real question is, what's your name? And by taking that role, I take the masculinity away from her. So if you want girls to approach you, I kind of have to question your masculinity, brother, because that shows me, and it should show you, that you want to be in the feminine role, being approached by girls. No, 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 no. That is a horrible way to set it up. And though it does happen, and though it will make you feel good from an ego kind of standpoint, it is absolutely and utterly something that you'll actually want to avoid. Why? Once again, you're in the feminine role. You want girls to approach you because you're too fucking cowardly to approach them. And it shows that the woman is masculine. How many of you guys listening have had a girl pursue you? You were like, I can't get any better. I guess she's kind of attractive. We get along well, so I'm just going to settle down with her. And then the relationship eventually imploded upon itself because she was in the masculine role and you were in the feminine role. I'm sure many of you have had that happen. We need to be in the masculine role as men. And in order to do that, you have to go approach women. You have to be the initial pursuer, the one that shows interest. Now, going back to the all-important concept of you wanting less than she wants, what you're interested in when you first approach a woman is the conversation. Yeah, she's cute. Yeah, you're interested in her perhaps as something more than just a conversation. But initially, you're just curious. You're just interested. You're a social dude who likes to talk to people. She's cute. I'm going to go talk to her. But you're not pursuing her. You're not showing interest in her until she starts showing interest in you. And this is one of the biggest concepts that I teach in my coaching. You do not show attraction to her until she starts showing attraction to you. That's why in my coaching, we don't hit on women until they're attracted to us. So what do? We go up as the masculine man. We say, hey, I thought you were cute, wanted to meet you. Or we go up with the indirect approach such as, hey, what drink is that? Why is it blue like that? What is that thing? And that opens the conversation. Then initially, we're just giving value. We're busting her chops. We're telling jokes. We're telling stories. We're running gambits, not being attracted to her. We're interested in the conversation. And our vibe is this. If I'm not going to talk to you, I'll go talk to somebody else. It's not a big deal. So we throw out value, value, value. She goes into her feminine energy. She starts showing signs of attraction, such as playing with her hair, licking her lips, asking you personal questions, laughing at jokes that aren't funny, jumping into the air, and sliding onto your dick. These are all signs of attraction to which you're wise to read. Once you read at least 3 of them, then you can start showing some interest. So with that being laid down, we understand how the masculine and the feminine should work. We understand it's the man's job to approach the woman. It's the woman's job to lead the interaction in the way that once she's attracted, the man can start showing attraction to her. Then she's in her feminine, you're in your masculine. If, on the other hand, you're at a nightclub and you're with your friends and a girl comes up to you and she does that to you, hey, I wanted to meet you because I thought you were cute. What's your name? And you're like, oh, Jason. Well, what do you do for a living, Jason? Well, I invented the flameless candle and now I'm retired. What are you up to tonight? And you're in that feminine energy where she's interviewing you. Horrible, brother. Because again, you're in the feminine role. If, on the other hand, she approaches you, you flip the frame, then you start leading the conversation the way you're supposed to, then we have the correct masculine feminine dynamic. Guys, I don't care how much you try to fight this. I don't care how much hatred I get about the masculine and feminine role and where we should be as heterosexual men and women. This is how it works. It's worked this way for hundreds of thousands of years. So to try to go against it because you're riding the coattails of some narrative put out there by some extreme left philosophy, it's gonna fuck you over. Be a man, be proud of it. You are masculine. Take that role from her. All right, so we understand that it's your job to approach, it's your job to give value. Once she starts getting attracted, you can show attraction, pretend like you're getting attracted to her, and then start hitting on her in a sexual way. Once again, once she's into you, and more fundamentally, we understand that we should give her only 80% of what she wants from us. This is called the 80-100 rule in my coaching, where whatever she's giving you as far as her attraction towards you, her interest towards you, her wanting to talk to you, her wanting to text with you, her wanting to hang out with you, you only give her 80% of that. This puts you in the power role, makes you the leader, because we have to understand the person in any interaction who wants less is always the one controlling it. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a friend or a girl who wanted less than you did? When they wanted less than you did, who do you think had the power in that dynamic? Take a friend, for example. We've all had friends that were a little bit standoffish, and when they were that way, they had the power. They were always the leader. It was always on their terms because the person who wants less is always the one who's leading. So that friend of yours or that girl was leading and therefore was in the masculine role. You have to be in the masculine role, therefore you have to want less, even if you have to fake it and control that red helmeted warrior in your pants. You have to have the discipline to only give her 80% of what she wants. This puts her in the chase mentality. Now she starts kind of chasing you. She wants more from you, and you give it to her only 80% of what she wants. So in that concept, we understand that we don't chase women, because what does that imply? It implies that we're giving her more than 100% of what she wants. She wants to hang out with you 5 times. If you're chasing her, you're going to want to hang out 7 times, 10 times. You're going to compliment her way more than she compliments you. You're going to state interest way more than she's stating interest towards you. You're going to want more of her than she wants of you. What does this do? It puts you in the feminine role. So where's the situation where we can actually chase a woman? It's when she's so feminine and she's so shy that she's giving you nothing to work with. But you suspect deep below her shyness and deep below that passive femininity, she wants you to chase her. She wants you to pursue her. And this is the one instance in which you're allowed to do so. Let me reiterate. She is so feminine. She is so shy that even, yes, you think she wants you and she thinks she likes you, she won't say anything about it. She won't text you. She won't say she wants to hang out. She won't even ask you fucking questions. And I know a lot of you guys have had this experience where you're talking to a girl and she's so fucking reserved that you can't even read her. You're like, does this chick like me, or is she just standing here to be polite? Well, this is one of the hardest situations you have to deal with as a man. And it's a little bit like rolling the dice, because sometimes in this game, actually a lot of times in this game, you have to take risks. So if you're getting a girl who's giving you very little feedback, except for the fact that she's still standing there talking to you, she's not excusing herself when, say, for example, there's a little bit of an awkward moment where the conversation dies and she's still standing there. Yeah, she might have her arms crossed and she might be a little bit timid looking, but ultimately you're like, well, she's still sitting here talking to me. She's still, for example, returning my text. She's still agreeing to hang out with me sometimes. Okay, this girl's super in her feminine energy. She's feeling very shy. Maybe she's insecure a little bit. So I'm going to chase her, quote unquote, but always assuming what her desire is and basing your chasing off of that. Let me explain. We talked about the 80-100 rule, didn't we? That means you give her 80% of what she wants from you. You can't really tell what she wants from you because she's being so feminine, so shy, but you think she wants about this much. For example, you think, if I had to guess, even though I can't really read her, I think she probably wants to hang out with me. I'm talking to her in this first conversation. I approached her in the nightclub. She was literally sitting in the corner, being very quiet, being very feminine, which honestly, boys, is the kind of girl I prefer because usually those are the most feminine girls and the sex is the best. And I really like feminine women, as I'm sure you do too. She's sitting in the corner. I approach her. I light her up with my game, my storytelling. I run gambits on her. She seems pretty into it. She's laughing here and there, but she's not really engaged in the conversation. But dude, I think she does want to hang out with me. Even though it's not super obvious the way it is with some girls, I think she wants to hang out with me. So I am going to pursue her. I'm going to chase her to hang out with me. Even though she's not throwing herself at me as some girls do, I'm still getting a reading, even though it's a subtle reading, that she wants to hang out. So I'm going to be a little bit forceful and pursue that hangout. And this is the one situation in which you can quote unquote chase a woman. She's not giving you a lot, but you think there is something there. So you go for it. And you say, hey, you seem pretty cool. Let's hang out sometime. And maybe she's so shy. She's like, yeah, I don't know. You'd be like, come on, let's go. We're going to have fun. I promise you. Here, put your phone number in my phone. And she's like, okay. And then she goes along with it. You're kind of pursuing her, but you're again doing it within the 80-100 rule, assuming what her 100 is based off your best evidence. So the only time to chase a woman is when she's so shy, when she's so feminine that she won't give you much to work with at all. She's just in that passive little bunny rabbit state where she's in the corner, she doesn't know what to do, she's a little bit intimidated by you, but you think you can tell there's some attraction there, then you can pursue it. All right, so you yank her number and then you text her, and oh my God, here we go, dude, with the boring text. So you guys are shooting back and forth. She's not being super engaged in the conversation, but at the same time, she's not ghosting you. She's replying back. So you try to get it on a high note, but the high note just isn't coming because she's so boring over texting. So this is the time that you have to roll the dice and gamble and say, hey, you seem pretty cool. I think we owe it to ourselves to hang out sometime. Do you agree with this brilliant conclusion? And what if she's like, I don't know. I mean, I think so. You'd be like, come on, let's go out. Like I said, when we met in the nightclub, we're going to have a good time. I promise. You just have to promise not to burn down the bar as you did to that other bar last week. Sound good? And she's like, okay, sound good. Cool. What's your week looking like? Sometimes with these girls, you have to be a little bit forceful. And that is always, once again, and I cannot reiterate this enough, within what you believe her 100% is. If you wholeheartedly believe that she does want to hang out with you, and if you also believe that it would be good for her, then you can pursue her a little bit and be a little bit pushy, as it were. But we're not chasing girls as in we definitively know she wants to hang out 5 times a week. And we're like, no, let's hang out 7. Let's hang out every day. I just want you to live in my house. I love you so much. None of that bullshit. It's basically assuming what a girl who's very standoffish is at attraction wise, and then deploying 80% of that, sometimes, yes, in a forceful way. Because femininity, especially that femininity that's mixed with shyness, will oftentimes be very standoffish and you can't fucking read it. But again, if you're masculine, that kind of girl is probably going to turn you on the most. Honestly, that kind of girl is going to be some of the best sex because she's so girly, she's so feminine, she's not in this masculine energy where she's like pursuing dudes and texting dudes and throwing out all this interest. She's more reserved. So you being the man, go up, you give the value, you read kind of where she's at. And if she's not giving you much to work with, sometimes again, you just roll the dice and you chase that girl. And I put chase in quotations because we're not really chasing. We're trying to lead her to where she wants to be led. But because there's not a lot of evidence, you're taking a chance and she could blow you out. She could be like, sorry, I'm just really not interested. And you're like, whoops, misread that one. I thought it was just shyness. I thought it was just insecurity. But it turns out she's not interested. But dude, sometimes if you don't go, you never know. And that's a big quote I have in my coaching. If you don't go, you never know. Or if you don't go, it's always a no. So sometimes when they're giving you nothing to work with, you roll the dice and see if chasing her will be the thing that works. Because with really feminine women, it does work. And once again, if you hyperextend your anal chakra because I'm saying that men should be masculine and women should be feminine, I suggest you take a step back, take a deep breath, and reevaluate your frame. Because remember, as I talked about in a previous episode, if you get offended by anything, that shows me that you have a weak frame, a weak sense of reality. You're so insecure about what you believe that what other people say can affect you. A man or even a woman who's ensconced in their belief and they really believe it, that, say, for example, masculinity and femininity are just socially made archetypes that we shouldn't buy into, I'm going to disagree with you. And you should be so ensconced in your belief system that you don't care if I disagree with you. You say, cool, Mark Singh has that. I'll let him believe it. But guys, for the majority of you listening, you know this is how it works. A woman who's extremely in her feminine energy will oftentimes not be as forward as those who are in their masculine energy. And those kind of women are usually the best women when it comes to relationships and sex because they're confident enough in their femininity to move into it. But inevitably, that femininity is going to have with it sometimes shyness, sometimes not being very direct with what they want, sometimes being a little bit hard to read. But if you get that kind of girl, she wants to be chased a little bit. She wants to be pursued. Always, of course, within the 80-100 rule. Because if you break that rule and give her too much, then she's going to lose attraction for you. So it's kind of like the thing where she wants more from you than you're willing to give her. She doesn't really telegraph it a lot, but you just kind of try to read the signs. You take her to where she wants to be led, always leaving her wanting more. She's getting more attracted to you, moving more into her feminine energy. You are in the masculine energy, which is where you need to be. Now there's that sexual tension between you. And I'm telling you, this is one of the dynamics that's super necessary for relationships to work. One final point. Let's say you get a girl that does approach you. She's very masculine. She's very forward. She tells you what she thinks. She's very opinionated. She pushes your boundaries. You could get that girl to go into her feminine. And oftentimes women that are very successful, they're go-getters, they kick ass in their careers, they'll oftentimes be so used to being masculine that when they meet a dude who takes, without apology, the masculine role, she goes whew, into her feminine energy, and it's the best thing that ever happened to her. And the sex with those kinds of women who are willing to go into their feminine energy, even after resisting it for a while, is the best because she's so used to being masculine. She forgot what it's like to be a woman. She goes into her feminine, lets you take control, and then it's just naked monkey sex. When you come, you literally blast off the fucking bed, hit your back on the ceiling, and come back down on top of her because the sex is that powerful. Good sex is when a man's in his masculine and a woman's in her feminine. So don't be bummed out if you're talking to a girl and she's not giving you a lot back and she's really shy. She could be the ideal girl for you because it could be a sign, not always, but it could be a sign that she's in her feminine energy, which is exactly what we want. Men should be in their masculine. Women should be in their feminine. This is the way heterosexual relationships work. And if you disagree with it, I'm afraid I can't help you with that. Gentlemen, once again, I super appreciate the reviews. If you leave me a review, email me at coachmarksing@gmail.com and I will send you a bunch of cool shit. I have an awesome one dropping on Thursday, so please stay tuned for that one, and I will see you in the next episode.